Hi everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Hit Your Numbers. As I mentioned last week, this is a two-part episode. So this is part 2 of the state of sales in 2026 with James and John. I hope you enjoy. And don't forget to visit therevenueenabler.com. Visit the Learning Hub for free courses, free downloads, loads of useful information, helpful articles, and of course, all episodes of this podcast. We now have over 70 episodes full of useful advice from sales leaders all around the world. You are not going to want to miss what they've got to say. Right, on with the podcast.
So I work pretty hard and I'm obsessed. Like I'm always learning something. Very rarely will you catch me in front of Netflix. Not there's anything wrong with that. And I don't mind watching Drive to Survive on Netflix or Peep Show, which I've watched about 50,000 times now. It just doesn't get old, that.
No.
But I'm just hungry, you know, and it sounds like the dude that you're talking about there is hungry to learn and become a master and be professional in the role and just works really hard and gritty. And if you give him a couple of tools or you don't really matter. He'll figure it out either way.
And he's seen, and like we joined IBM at the same time. Like he's seen everything. Like we've seen every major change.
Yeah.
In the technology, sphere for the last 35 years, and he's still at the top of the game.
Yeah.
Right? So it's not about that's my case study. It's not about technology.
Yeah, it helps for sure.
Scale, reach, clarity, all those things are brilliant, right? And there's plenty of technology that I use today. But actually, the fundamentals haven't gone away. And the fundamentals are, do you know who it is that you're selling to, right? Have you understood them and their business and can really clearly state the problem you're solving, right? Because if you can't do those two things, how are you going to make a sale?
Yeah, and people will say to that second point, let's say the reps that work in these data tools, they'll say, yeah, they don't have the right mobile numbers for the people they're trying to call. I'm like, the problem's so much bigger than that. The problem is so much bigger than that. I've bought so many data tools as a VP of sales. Shit, one of my teams had like 4 of them, and it wasn't because they couldn't have the phone number of the VP of HR. It was because we made this wild expectation to these VCs, and I had to figure out a way of getting to it. And every month that went on, the gap got bigger. But reps just stopped at when I said, we don't have anywhere near enough mobile numbers for these VPs of HR. They go, you tip my box, buddy. Let me share my screen and show you how you can download some mobile numbers. And that's okay if you're working in like a high velocity inbound motion where everyone's coming with the credit card and they can't put it in on the website and they're like, dude, just stop talking. Where's the ATM? Yeah. That's okay in that situation. Most people aren't selling in that environment, and less of those ones are in that environment now.
Well, also that's the bit of the market that gets swallowed up. That got swallowed up initially by the internet, and will now get swallowed up by AI. Right, it'll just keep moving up a little bit. So it's really in that mid-tier higher up where all the value is for sellers, right? And you're right. A phone number is not the issue.
No. And you said something a minute ago about you was in a coaching conversation, like what would you do next? And it was like actually the ripple effect of all these other things that are building up. And while you were saying that, it made me think about pipeline bloat. And one of the things that I think when we come back to our state of sales 2026 is the lack of attention that goes into sales stages, the steps in those stages, and then the exit criteria of those stages to prevent. We just kicked off a program fairly recently with the sales org, and I was in the office with 30 people, whatever it might be, and they got one of these cool walls. It's a whiteboard and you can draw on the wall. So I said, let's talk about a deal on the forecast, and we picked a deal, and I just got a marker, and I did like the beginning of the sales process. In the sales process, drew a line, and I chucked the board marker at the dude, and I said, where do you think you are in the sales process? And he drew the line at about 80%. And I asked him a couple of just really generic discovery questions, and I was like, dude, I think you're here. And it was like 20% of the journey. And it's just because in Salesforce and HubSpot or whatever CRM you're using, most of the time they are just like discovery, demo, proposal, close. If you're the first person in the door and they're going to market and you are told by your boss to drive next steps, so you drive next steps, you book a demo, you do the demo 3 days later, and then they're like, we'd really love to learn how much this costs, and you hide everything because you're a terrible salesperson, and you're like, I have to do that on a proposal meeting. So like, okay, we can book that in tomorrow. So now you're at the proposal stage, and you think you are at stage 4 or 5. The reality is they're still in initial discovery and scoping, and they're thinking about shortlisting for a POC. And
Yeah.
now we're talking about a forecast, and then people say, "Oh, we've got loads of slippage." No, you ain't got any slippage. Those deals shouldn't even been in the
Yeah.
forecast.
They don't have a slippage issue. It's just the symptom of slippage, but the issue is something else.
You got no
right?
compliance. You need to have a
Yeah.
compliance document that says we can't go from stage 1 to 2, 2 to 3, 3 to 4 until we've achieved these things. What are those things? I don't think you should be in that job if you don't know what those things are.
Yeah. Well, and it goes back to this idea of people don't really understand the mechanics of sales. They think it's
Yeah.
this kind of elaborate thing. For a long time, when I interviewed sales reps, I asked them to I said, look, you don't know what my sales process is or our company's sales process is, but you're a salesperson. Describe your sales process. What I'm looking for is that they understand that it's a technique and a process so that I can then teach them our one. Right? That's what I need them to. I need the base skill. And most people are okay at discovery and then nothing. And then there's nothing after that. Right. And I think all the work is in the middle. Right. There's a lot of lifting that you can do in discovery, but the work is in the middle. Before you even put a proposal in front of someone, like there's a lot of work to do. And there's who is it? It's they work with Pavilion, Ebster. They do a really brilliant survey. I'm sure you've seen it. And they talk about high performers. I love the way that they create context around this, because actually you want to mimic high performer behavior, right? That's the right answer. And they talk a lot about like the high performers have met 6 people across 5 meetings, including the economic buyer, before solution presented. Like just that one thing. And that it's like 700% more likely. Some insane, like I can't. It's like a Trumpian style declaration, isn't it? Like you can improve your business 700% by doing this one thing.
But John, my business is different, and those people must be so lucky. They must be selling something so. That's all I can hear the listeners.
Yeah, but that's for me. It's my job to convince them. Otherwise, I'm not being a regular sales guy, right?
Yeah.
But that one stat is sort of really interesting because it shows you 2 really important factors, right? One, you need a whole host of people to move your deal forward in an enterprise, right? It's a huge problem because everyone's afraid of making a mistake. I call it FOMO, fear of messing up, right? Because they're afraid they're going to make a mistake and it's going to cost them their job and they're going to look done badly, or it doesn't solve the problem and whatever it is, right? So that's kind of one bit. You've got to speak to a lot of people, including the person that owns the economic problem. And this is the bit that most people really misunderstand. They think it's the finance director because you use the word economic.
Yeah.
Right. And it's not. It's who owns the business problem. And it could be someone in another department. Right.
Yeah.
And then the second bit is before you present the solution. Like if you don't know who the person that owns the problem, like if you don't know what their problem is and how they see it and what they think the answer is, and you haven't confirmed that with 5 to 6 people before you cut a proposal, it's just luck. You're buying a lotto ticket, right? And I see a lot of sellers, and because of the lack of training, because of all the stuff we talked about, go back to the state of sales in 26. If I can get a proposal in front of someone, I can do a deal because I can discount that down to the point where they'll buy it.
Yeah, literally.
Right. And my boss is getting screamed at by his boss or her boss. And, she's screaming at my boss. And my boss is saying, like, I'll take the deal because they've got to take 25 deals this quarter. Yeah, they're all going to be at 30% discount, but he's got the 25 deals. And so she's not going to shout at him. Right.
Yeah.
And that is absolutely terrible. And that's where we're in that situation because we create like a systemic problem. And it takes a lot to stand up to it. Like there's not a lot of people that can do it. Certainly not like in my 30s, I couldn't have done it.
No.
I probably could do it in my 40s. Right? I could definitely do it now. I choose not to do it now because I'm doing something different, right? But it takes a lot to stand up and go, hang on. If this is what you want, then we can do this. I got fired from a job because I only grew 150% for 2 years. And it wasn't from like 0 to 1. They were already on the train. Right?
Yeah.
And because they all said, well, if we can do 150, we can definitely do 250.
Oh, of course, yeah. The
Right?
spreadsheet business, it's the bean counters on the board that a financial analysts go, but the spreadsheet says it's possible. I'm like, dude, Red Bull said it gives me wings, and I jumped off the house and I hit the ground pretty hard. Yeah,
Yeah.
you
And,
know, anyone can
it's
build a
really
business
difficult.
in a spreadsheet.
It's really, yeah, you're right. Because, you only need like 10% more leads and 5% more conversion and 6% more average order value increase, right?
Yeah.
And that,
Give
yeah,
me the
you're right. You only
MongoDB
need
reps,
that.
and I might be able to do that. But I'm getting, I've got 25 grand a year account executives who have just fallen out of university and can't get a job.
Yeah.
Like,
And
it's
so
not that easy.
And so you have to be, you have to have the depth of understanding of how to run that business. It's not just about deals. It's about return on capital, thinking about the process. We talked about ICP. Some of it's about marketing. Have you got a marketing budget? Have we got a marketing budget? Yeah, we went to that conference. No. Have we got a marketing budget? Different question or different answer. And so it's all of these bits that go together. And actually, really, I wrote a lot about what it means to be a CRO.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're just running sales, like I'm going to be the one to tell you, you're not a CRO, right? You're a sales leader, and nothing wrong with that, but you are a sales leader. If you can own that whole customer journey, then you're a CRO, because if you put all those pieces together, you can generate income at all of those different stages, or you make decisions here to make an investment that produce money here and here, right?
Yeah.
And there's just not enough of that about, right? There's some really smart people about, but they've really not seen enough, right?
Yeah.
And they're probably only thinking about sales and maybe marketing,
Yeah.
right? And actually, we've got quite a lot more going on there. Like, how far do you reach into the product, right? Because as someone that's been a CRO, I want to be at the table.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I don't want to have a look at it before you decide. Like, I'm in the room when we're talking about it.
If I got to sell it and then expand it and then renew it, and I've got to lift it, I want to be in the driving seat to help us shape what that
Plus,
looks
I know
like.
what customers are doing with it, right? I actually know how they use it, right? I'm the one speaking to customers. Yeah, you did speak to someone today. Well done, right? But I speak to them every day.
That was a really happy customer as well, by the way, that's advocating for us. I'm speaking to the people that are frustrated they're about to churn.
Yeah. And so I can see the whole thing, right? And so this idea that, we've got this really complicated system that's sort of tuned to not being successful unless someone breaks the model, right? And then you've got people in the model who have the accountability, right? They are accountable for the failure, but they don't have the responsibility to change it. Yeah. And worse still, they either don't have the experience or the skills. It doesn't really matter which one you've got, right? They don't have those in order to push back. And so there's kind of a sense of inevitability, unless you're lucky enough to work in an environment where someone in the senior leadership has had that experience and she can bring that to the table, or you are someone that's been around and you've been hired for that purpose. Yeah. There's a whole variety of different things that can change it. And that's why you see lots of successful companies. It's not all doom and gloom. Companies are being successful because they are solving these problems, but way too many companies aren't. And it is actually really doable.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. And anyone that's listening to this, I would think about the word proposal, and I would really very quickly change that to like cost justification. I started using a business case a long old time ago because I just got so fed up of getting bad news from my champion that took it to an economic buyer for a presentation. I wasn't invited into that room, so I gave him this lovely proposal that was very on brand, and it was just like screenshots of our product with a price tag at the end that we'd hacked down to try and convince them it was still the right thing to do. And instead I started to build a cost justification. It was like 1 or 2 pages, headline at the top, we called out the cost of inaction with a call to action of some kind. Then like a problem statement with root cause that have been documented, so they could really see like, what's our problem, why is that being what's causing that to exist. Directly under that was, how do we plan to solve those items above to build confidence in what we do. And then finally, how will you measure success? If you do this, what is going to go up and to the right? If you think of like a hockey stick, right?
Yep.
At the end, they're like, okay, this makes sense. So we're struggling to do this. This is the negative consequence. This is why that problem exists in the first place. This looks like a pretty solid plan to solve it. And if we implement that successfully, and you said you've driven consensus, there's a couple of different pockets of this business that agree it's the right thing to do. We are going to lift our win rate from 20 to 30%, which will help us generate an extra 1.5 million of revenue a quarter. How much is this thing? 68 grand. What are we doing talking about it?
Yeah, like I need to do it now. Like it's
and it really, and
irrelevant.
You've been in there, right? You've probably been in way more than I have, but I've been in loads of those, and I've seen them go like that, and they've been green lighted, either my thing or my VP of CS or whatever it might be. And I've also been in them when they haven't had those, and they've gone, oh yeah, this we have to do a spreadsheet thing 3 hours a month. It's really annoying. Can I have 45 grand to not do that? And they're like, what do we get back? And they're like, well, they're 3 hours. And I'm like, dude, that I'm paying you like 40 grand a year to do that spreadsheet and everything else. It's probably about £50 a month of your time to do that spreadsheet. Are you crazy? Because they haven't anchored it on a bigger negative consequence, the ripple.
And I think that's really powerful. And I'm very similar to from the other end of the process. I created this thing called a value map. Okay. Because I was asking reps, what's the problem? And we were selling a tool that upgraded Windows, right? Like, do you remember upgrading Windows? Imagine that on a corporate level, like 50,000 laptops, right? Yeah. And they were like, oh, they have to upgrade Windows. And my contention was that no one on the history of the earth has ever wanted to upgrade Windows. Right? That is absolutely not what the problem is. Yeah. Right? The problem is something else, and that is definitely not their desire. Right? And so I created this thing, and it's really simple, very similar to what you described, but I'm trying to complete it in the discovery phase, which is what's the company trying to do? Right? How does the thing that we're talking about help the company do that goal? How do you measure success? Who owns the problem? Right? And then across it, it's like, what is the pain? And there can only be 3 pain. Like there's 1 or 2 pains, really, maybe 3. Yeah. Everything else is subset. What is the impact? How do they do it now? How would we do it? And what will be the impact? And the idea is you get it onto one landscape, one sheet of A4. Mm-hmm. And that is for me, that's how you navigate the 5-6 people. That's how you talk to the economic buyer. I found it a really powerful tool saying, hey, look, I've been working with your team and we're trying to solve the problem. I'd like to share with you what we've got. So I want to make sure we're fully aligned. Like the hit rate on that is
so great,
off the charts. Yeah. Right. But what you've got then is this you're mapping value to your value to them, right? But the key is that follows the customer all the way through. So it goes into onboarding, it goes into customer success, and then we're constantly reiterating it, right? Yeah. Is this still valid today? Did we solve this problem? Did that measurement move up? And like it's the least exciting document you've ever seen, right? It's just like 6 boxes. And it's so simple in its design, but it allows you to write that proposal in the right way because you now have that kind of the dialogue that says
context.
Yeah, exactly. You use context is exactly the right word. You set out to do this. You're going to spend this amount of money. This is going to move, and it's going to create this much money. Right? Yeah. That's what you're buying. Okay.
Yeah. And do you trust that? Because if you don't trust it, then you probably shouldn't do it. But if I've anchored on customer stories throughout and given you proof and evidence that we have repetition of doing it, everything that you've done should be again, what are we doing? Why are we having this conversation? You should go do this thing. Yeah. When can we start?
And then procure, and you'll be amazed the amount of times procurement gets pushed out of the way. Yeah. Like I need to buy it, right? Yeah. It's when you're not building enough value, I think, that you get stuck in it. Now, there's a procurement issue, I think, in modern business today. Certainly as you get further up the stack, right? You've got to get quite high up it because it's quite an expense. And what you're creating is a barrier between you and value. And I had a really fun sales director many years ago, and he said, yeah, like we're all having this massive orgy, and procurement are like the pricks that walk in and turn the lights on and go, right, everyone out. Yeah. And then he's standing around naked in the dark going, where's my friend who was having such a good time with? And like that's the shock effect of it. But that's happening because most decisions are awful. Like they know that their company's decisions are awful. So they're at least trying to get a way out, really like one of the most important things that procurement do, right? And B, like a payment plan, which means we don't have to invest the money. and see the lowest possible price, because that reduces their risk in their eye, right? Now, if you're there, it means you haven't done the other stuff well, right? Because every process can be broken, right?
Mm-hmm.
If a senior person who has a problem says, I want to buy that, you need to sort it out,
Mm-hmm.
right? I've seen that. I've done it and I've seen it, right?
Yeah.
Really, 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 really important. And there's a really interesting, Gartner there's some really interesting research, as I'm sure you understand. They did this thing about the percentage of deals won, what percentage of them were budgeted, right? And it's 50-50.
Mm-hmm.
50% of the deals that are done are not budgeted.
Yeah.
That means they're doing what we've just been talking about. They create context, they understood the business problem, and they presented a case, and someone said, I'm not spending my money on that, I'm going to spend it on this.
Yeah.
Right? And the answer is really simple. How do you make their business better? If you've got a proposal that makes their business better, and it's better than the thing that they thought about in November last year, right, when they were sat in a room in, I don't know, Tewkesbury, in a hotel somewhere, when they built the budget, then they'll buy it. It's just that simple, right? Because they can't afford not to.
Yeah, you're so true, dude. And I say this all the time, and people just they argue with me over it. It's all fucking made up anyway. Like I would have said it's even less than that if Gartner found it at 50%. I bought loads of stuff over the years, and none of it was budgeted for. I had to build a business case and justification, had credibility, but it's all made up. If you think about businesses, whenever they have a problem, they buy stuff. Think about startups. They're running out of runway. What do? They give something away to get money back in return. If you can articulate to a business, to an economic buyer, that's why we do a lot of like teaching on like commercial acumen and stuff before we kick off any cold calling or medic deployment, right? You got to have a baseline understanding of why businesses exist and who an economic buyer is and how they can kind of say yes to another says no, and they can go, right, we're pausing that Salesforce implementation. I care about that as well, but I need that money to go and fix this HR problem I've got. Otherwise, we'll have no people to use that Salesforce thing. So that's being parked as an initiative. But you have to do discovery. That's why it's not a stage. And you have to go around the organization and look for enemies and traps and all this kind of good stuff. And then you have to build this real solid thing. And if you do it, you'll win way more than you win. So many more. Yeah.
My last sales job, when I carried a quota, was like feels like a million years ago. I had one customer. Right, it was Unilever, but it was one bit of Unilever, right, called Best Foods, and I had a year to hit a target. So here's what I did: I just met everyone, like absolutely everyone, and figured out what everyone's problems were, and then I just mapped them and went, "Oh look, there's 4 problems. Here are all the people that own them. Got them all in a room, in different stages at different times, and said, hey, do you know you guys got the same problem? Should we talk about it?" Right. In the background, I'm creating a framework agreement with procurement so they can buy stuff. Like, what are we going to buy from you? Loads. We need a framework so that you feel happy, so that when they're ready to buy something, we can just buy it. Mm-hmm. And from about May onwards, people started buying stuff. Right. And they were buying mix of consulting, computing, software, a whole variety of things to fix the problems. I knew the problems that I could solve. We could only fix like 5-6 things.
Yeah.
And so they're the ones I concentrate. Everything else just kind of left. I can't do anything. Like I'm sure you want to solve it, but I can't do anything about it. And it was so straightforward. And the amount of times I see people, like I can't get hold of my girl that I speak to. You speak to one person, like that's it. Like, how is that possible? Because when you're speaking to Sally and you're talking about the problem, she sees it really different to Jane.
Yeah.
It's the same problem, right? But they've got different perspectives. You've got to bring those people together as much as you've got to bring the kind of procurement or the buying process into place as well.
Yeah.
And all of these things go back to all of the elements we're talking about. Like, do you understand business to a general degree? Do you understand the concepts that people are working with? Do you understand the customer and their problem? Is there context to what you're doing? Does everyone agree? Can you verify it? Right? If you can do those things, then actually the rest of it is a mechanical technique that we can teach you, right? Or we can get a machine to do, which is, here are the inputs, here are the things that we sell, connect the pieces together, create an output. Right? But if you don't if you cannot work out what the customer's trying to do and why they're trying to do it, and why it matters to them, fundamentally to improve their business, then you can't help them. You're hoping that you win, and your proposal is a piece of paper that is the beginning of a discount discussion.
Yeah, it's the most expensive document because it's just literally just full of screenshots.
Yeah,
and it ends up getting raced to the bottom.
It is, and and you know what? And there's bits. I'm sure you've got lots of bits of software that show you when people are looking at proposals. But I stopped using it because it was just like they just scroll to the end and look at the price.
Of course they do.
Just put the freaking price at the beginning, right?
Yeah.
And then convince them, give them something compelling enough to read through it. I did a thing recently when I was working with a company. They were having a challenge with discounts.
Right.
So I worked with them. I actually created some training, stuff like that. And there were sort of two really simple changes that we made. One was to go down the route that you were talking about, which is context, business case, right?
Yeah.
But the thing that made just as much impact on that as we stopped emailing the proposal.
Oh, yeah.
Right. A really simple thing. We did still send an email, but we spoke to the customer and talked them through it. Not with a 25-page PowerPoint, not with the Google Doc up. Like, we talked them through what was happening, what they were thinking about, why they wanted to buy it, what was going to improve in their business, all the things we were talking about, and then we sent it. And just that alone had a material effect, right? The fact that it was built in a business case had another material effect. So we had this double effect. We barely taught them anything new. It's just like, this is the tech, this is the stuff.
Yeah.
This is the stuff.
And those are the sales tools, like pieces of paper or Word documents, Google Docs. Like my Google Doc CFO business case, it's used by hundreds of sellers now, but it's like one of the most powerful tools you can put in a seller's hand, and it doesn't cost you anything. Well, you need to be a member of my training platform, but in 30 seconds you can download it, and then you're off into the sunset with it, and you've then got it forever, for life. And like, I probably will use it the whole way through my career. Like, we pretty much now, I've only been building this business for 2 years. I do no outbound, and we nearly win everything. Nearly everything. And it's quite tough because I find when I'm selling, like, it's not really just training, but like, it's overall upskilling of the sales organization and professionalizing things. But there's more to it. There is strategy, there's AI, consulting and stuff. But when you're selling what is seen as training to a sales leader, the expectation of you to deliver great execution, if I'm going to have you to come in and teach my people to do that, is even heightened. So I'm not just doing it because of that. I'm doing it because I know it's the right thing to do. I don't even say, do you need a business case? I'm like, hey, John, let's just partner up on building out this business case. I want to make sure we put our best foot forward. And I also want to be held accountable to deliver this stuff, because I want to deliver a great outcome for you. Because at some point I'm going to ask and come and say, hey, do you want to buy some more stuff? And if I want to expand your account, I'm going to have to, demonstrate, quality and value to you.
Well, the distinction you're making is a really interesting one, and it's very difficult to do when you're young. Is that you're a businessman selling to another businessman. You're not a seller selling to a manager.
Yeah.
Right. And it's a really different thing, because as a business person, these are the kind of things that business people need. So I'm just going to do them because they're the right thing, and I'm dealing with a counterpart, and we're equals. Right? You don't see a hierarchy. It's not like a parent to child relationship. It's an adult to adult relationship.
Yeah.
And that is experience, confidence, and also you're an entrepreneur, so you've got something else about you, right?
Yeah.
It's, whether you see it or not. And I think that I think the quicker we can imbue young salespeople with that sense of self-assurance by giving them skills and the value of our experience and articulating it in such an interesting way, or giving them source material, or whatever it is we can do to do that, the better, more successful they're going to be. Because all the things we're talking about, they're not impossible to learn.
No,
right?
They're not.
They're also not hidden, right? Like, I'm looking at the Challenger sale. Like, most of what we've talked about is in the Challenger sale, right? Or pick a book, right? That's my preferred brand, if you like.
Yeah.
All of those things exist. What people don't have is the confidence to feel like they can do it. Like you said earlier, oh, well, it doesn't work like that in my company. Oh, it absolutely does.
Yeah, it's so funny though, isn't it?
Right? Like, it really does. Like, yes, I'm sure you're special, and I'm sure that there's a uniqueness to what you do, But speaking to customers and solving problems for them and getting them to pay you to do that, that's the same.
Yeah.
Right. And so the quicker we can get this group of people, that's what the IBM training gave me. I came out of that confident.
Yeah.
I came out of that like I can sit in front
Skills
of
build confidence. Like you go anything. Like I go back to the gym. I've not been for ages. I want to start doing heavy squat. I need the skills. Otherwise, I'm not going to feel confident putting a load of weight on my back. If I wanted to go and play golf again, which I'm meeting up with a buddy soon, I've not played in a year. Like I'm going to have to hit the driving range a bit. Otherwise, I'm not going to be confident in front of like, I don't know, 10, 15 people stood next to me watching me. I'm going to put it straight in the pond. And I know I'm going to do it. And I'm probably do it out of nerves.
And it's extraordinary. You do that for stuff that you just want to do.
Yeah.
People aren't doing that, or they're not getting the opportunity to do that, let's be clear, for their job, like how they pay their bills. Like it's really, I think it's really important that stuff is out there so that they go into a meeting going, I know what's going on here. They're not just thinking, oh my God, how do I get a proposal out? Like, what am I going to do? Yes. You see it with just saying yes to customers for everything.
Mm-hmm.
Like you could say no.
Yeah.
Right. Or you could say yes, but I'm going to need you to do that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Right.
But that just needs confidence.
Absolutely. Knowing that you have some leverage at that point.
Yeah.
Right. I need the proposal by the end of the week. I can't write a proposal yet.
Yeah.
Because I haven't met the economic buyer and we haven't clarified what it is you're going to buy. Well, just tell me what the kit is or the software or whatever. Like that's the list price. You can have a look on that on the website. Like if you want me to write you a proposal, like I'm going to need some stuff.
Yeah.
Like, why would I spend my time writing something for you that I'm probably not going to win unless I have some sense about that? Like that's really powerful. And yeah, you're going to piss a few people off, right? But maybe you won't. Maybe they were never going to buy from you anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I agree. Dude, I feel like we're like an hour and 10 minutes in here. I feel like we could probably spend like 3 or 4 days on this. There's so much stuff that I was just thinking about before we even jumped on.
Have me back for part 2.
Yeah, well, we might end up at part 10 and we'll be in 2027 then. And I guess we'll still be talking about the same stuff. I guess the theme here is, though, as we wrap, but the world that we live in now in sales is very different. And you mentioned there, like, you have an opportunity or whatever. I think back in the day, you only really had your manager or the business to upskill you. Now, which again is how I grew up in sales. And luckily, eventually 8 years in, BT made a big investment. But now, again, if it's mine or anybody else, you could, like you said, a book or a podcast or whatever you can listen to. Now there's even platforms that you can log into and literally go, do you know what? I've got a deal execution problem. So I'm going to go in and do 8 hours and 110 lessons with GPTs and like Google Sheets and business cases and just sit there for a couple of hours every day, then go over it and reinforce it. And then the dude does the coaching piece. He's going to come in and listen to my calls and help me fine tune it. And it does come back to, I think, I know it's not just about this. You do have to want it because it is out there to get now. And it's not like you're going to go and spend like 50 grand on training. Like we're talking like £200-300 a month for a couple of months. And then you are going to be in a much better place.
Yeah. I mean, like your platform, I love the way you've positioned it. It's cheaper than a gym membership, right?
Yeah.
Except it's for your livelihood.
Right? Yeah, your life, your career.
Yeah, like if you can't invest, if you want to go, you wouldn't go to the gym every day, but like you could do this every day, right?
Yeah.
And so like I think that what I'm sort of curious to know why there's not a mismatch there. Is it that there's an expectation from the rep that the company should pay? Because I've had a very similar idea. It's like, how can I make this cheap enough that someone could just say, "Oh, I'm gonna just buy it."
Yeah. I hate promoting it, because but then it's my business, so I should every now and then, but I very rarely talk about it, but it does frustrate me. Like someone will download something from my website and I give a lot of like free stuff, like GPTs that do like company research for you ahead of a discovery call. It's free. Go get it right now. Right. Wow. And like, I do try and give as much value on LinkedIn as I can, a newsletter, this podcast. Every now and then I got asked for some money, right? And some people do it, some people don't. But some people download stuff and I'm like, hey, John, thanks for downloading the GPT. My guess is if you're downloading a customer research for Discovery GPT, you're trying to execute a better discovery call. Would you be open to hearing about this platform where we've got hundreds of lessons that help you really nail it, word for word, what to do, and different versions based on your selling style? And I would never invest in training. My company should do that. And I'm like, dude, that's just such the wrong approach.
You
Like
answered
my missus had to spend loads of money to become a dental professional. Her brother's got PhDs and masters in dentistry and things like that. Spent loads and loads of money, and that's because part of it's NHS funded. So think about the stuff where it isn't government funded, like becoming a lawyer and all this other stuff.
Yeah.
Like people spend tens of
Accountant, whatever.
thousands. Yeah, it's mad, but people aren't prepared to pay £3 a day, less than the Starbucks that they buy, to potentially build the best career.
Yeah, don't have a coffee every morning and buy
It's
this,
mad,
and earn enough money to buy a coffee.
And like I've not figured it all out. I've only been doing this 15 years, and I still have a long way to go on mine. I've only been a VP twice, but I got hardly any training. When I became a VP, the first business was 3 months into the pandemic, and we were selling new category stuff. We went from like 7 customers to 175 and grew ARR 1,000%. And then I left that business, went to an enterprise team, and 11 months later, turned them around from getting to like 40% to 240% of the number. And it was just because of the fucking training. I literally they spent one whole day every week, spread out across the week, doing role play, doing call coaching, and then between 5 and 6 every day, I would lead a training based on some of the skill gaps I was seeing in the team. And now they've gone on to work at unbelievable companies as well, some of them. It really comes down to the skills.
Stuff we've been talking about, there's a lot of talent out there. They just need someone to give them the experience and the technique that they can take on. Because, smart people, driven people, creative people, they're so desperate, right?
Yeah.
And when they don't take it up, it's either kind of a poor attitude like the one you described, or it's they've sort of almost given up that anyone's ever going to help them.
Yeah.
And so I think this, we talk about it as training, but really it's just development, right? It's much more basic than that. And every one of those professions we described, they have a CPD mechanism, right? To retain your membership of being a nurse, you need however many hours of CPD a year, right? And it has to be verified. Right? You have to have all the new skills. And, like my mum was a nurse, my sister was a nurse, my aunt was a nurse, right? We should be at least as good as nurses, and nurses have a really high standard. So that's not a bad standard to be at, right?
Yeah.
And so, I just feel, but that, unfortunately, I only earn like 30 grand a year. Like if someone's paying you, 100 grand a year, maybe more, like you should really invest some time in getting better and some actual financial investment as well. Yeah. But maybe that's the thing we should really be focusing on, is changing that mechanic, because you're right, the tools are there.
And it's not just because I run this business. I said it when I was a VP of sales, I was posting quite a lot because the plan was always to build this business, and I quit like 3 months before our baby was due. So I was like building my audience and network ready to build this business. And even then I was still saying it, and I was selling enterprise software. I was like, I've got Gong. I'm a Gong partner right now. Like I probably wouldn't go and do my job again as a VP again without something like Gong. Probably Gong. So it's just super helpful, right? It's like I've had all the tools. My team had all the databases. We had digital sales rooms. We had all of that stuff. But ultimately, at the end of the day, you could have taken all of that stuff away. And as long as I could have listened to their calls, I could have spent a good few hours every single week with them. They would have still gone out and done the same thing that they did, because they were well trained and they were inspired. And they had someone that genuinely gave a shit about them, because I genuinely needed them to do well if I was going to put coin in my pocket. So I had one goal, just make these people elite. And some of them have gone off and worked at massive public companies, and some of them have gone off and done different things. I'm still in touch with a lot of them, which also says a lot. You develop your people, they'll follow you into war. And then when you go to the next company, they'll be lining up going, dude, like you did something to my...
Peeking over the thing, like, is it good? Can we come?
Yeah, exactly, right. And if you don't, then you'll always be looking for people, and eventually you'll just be stuck scraping the bottom of the barrel, and your earnings and your career will, suffer. So we are very aligned, John. I'm so glad we had this conversation.
Yeah, I'd like to talk. I mean, we'll talk more, but it's been a real pleasure to do this with you. Thanks for reaching out. And
it's nice it wasn't structured as well. Like I don't mind every now and having like a set of some questions that we talk about, but I also love just freestyling with someone that's passionate and gets it as well and sees a lot.
Thanks.
So this was a lot of fun. Where can people find you, John? Are you quite active on LinkedIn?
I'm actually the anti-LinkedIn.
Okay.
You can find me through LinkedIn, right? I do exist on there. You can find me at my name or my company site, which is JHKL, or you can go to the blog, which is the notsosecretcro.com.
Amazing. Go check out the blog. You mentioned there's a new like series coming. When's that dropping?
That will happen. That will come out before the summer. I tend to, when I do a series, it'll be like one a month. There'll be like 4 in the series, so it will be out by June. Right.
Sounds like you're like Apple. You do a big release at the beginning, at the same time every year, and everyone's like scratching, waiting for it. You know, like Drive to Survive comes out on Netflix.
It tends to reflect directly the problem that I'm solving at the time with the customer.
Right? Nice.
Because it helps me think, but also I think it's a great way of like codifying my knowledge and sharing it with other people.
Yeah, I agree. Awesome. Right, go check out John's stuff, and then John, we'll chat behind the scenes and make a plan to go for part 2, part 3, part 4, part 5, part 6. Thanks so much for coming on.
All right,
yes, absolutely. All right, nice one. Cheers, John.
Thanks for having me, man. Cheers.
All right, thanks for listening to this episode. I've got something else I want to give you before we wrap up here. So we've built the leading skill optimization platform with 400 plus sales lessons, 12 courses from prospecting all the way through to late stage deal negotiation and more, one-to-one sales coaching and AI sales assistance. And I want to give you 7 days free access to the platform. The reason I want to do this is because nobody gets a degree in B2B sales. And after training and coaching hundreds of sales reps and teams in the last 2 years, most haven't mastered critical selling skills. And it's preventing them from being promoted, earning great money, and building a great career in B2B sales. So go to therevenueenabler.com, grab a free trial, and join hundreds of salespeople that are closing their skill gaps and mastering sales. There's a link in the video description. I'm looking forward to getting you set up. Give me a shout with any questions.